Hello my dear students, here's again your computer Wunsam, and today I'll show you the second part of creating images. For the first part we have learned already how to insert an image. It's the same procedure as inserting links. Here we have the picture of images/karlheinz.gif, which we connected to a link by using the Ahref reference. But we are also capable of using any other picture we want to have. For instance, I can use images from the internet to insert in here. For this I was looking for a picture anywhere. I'm using the HTML5 picture because we have the HTML5 version. I press the right mouse button, copy image link, and then now I paste the image link just in here. Save it, it's a Wikimedia link, and if I go down, you can see here is the HTML5. However, as you can see, our giant bear still stops us from seeing anything. We'll go a little bit later in this, but I wanted to make sure that you understand you need a link to add an image anywhere. It can be a relative link, it can be an absolute link, it can be a link to anything else, and it can be even a website link as you have seen it before. This picture now of HTML5 is now here below, just a little bit bigger. This is the first part. Like I said, the link is working again. But now the problem is, how do we get our gigantic Karl-Heinz a little bit smaller? We can do it again by using the style attribute. Here we can write down style equals and then again 2 quotation marks. And now what we want to change is either the width or the height of our bear. What we can do for this is just down width and then let's say 25%. If I save it now, you can see that our polar bear is now 25% of this whole width. This means if it's bigger, then our polar bear gets bigger in comparison to the normal HTML5 picture, and if it gets smaller, our polar bear also gets a little bit smaller. As you can see, if I change it here, the bear increases or decreases in size. This is the advantage of using percentage, because the percentage only looks at the current size of the website. However, we also can use some absolute values like point or pixels. However, if I use 25 pixels for instance, it's getting very small. So we use 250 pixels. In this case, as you can see, it's quite big. However, it doesn't change its size if I increase the size of the window. It always stays the same. So it's an absolute value compared to a percentage value, which is a relative value or a referential value. Let's go back to our examples. We had the second picture here with HTML5. Every image requires a source. This img means image, src means the source, and the source needs to be any address that really exists. I cannot use an address that doesn't exist, like address. In this case we don't get anything at all except this little thing here. This little thing here shows that this picture doesn't exist at all, or that this address doesn't have any pictures in there. We need to look for pictures in the images folder. Here I have 3 pictures: detective.jpg, karlheinz.gif, and rubberducky.gif. By the way, you can choose what picture format you are using. You can use images of JPEG, of GIF, of SVG, of PNG, and so on and so forth, even BMP pictures. But some pictures are better than others to use for HTML sites. Especially JPEG and GIF are good formats for pictures in HTML because they don't require too much space on the computer. Let's go back to the example. We can now choose, for instance, detective.jpg. And I will write down something else now, because there's a specific attribute called alt, where I write down this picture doesn't exist. I refresh it and now you can see this picture doesn't exist. This is because here is detective, and detective is in a subfolder of the ENG. So this means we need to go down here again, look for images /detective.jpg, and now let's refresh it. Here's the detective. It's again quite big for this case. It is a picture of 500 to 500 pixel in fact. It is something I made with AI, which is quite interesting, but for the moment we just keep it like this. I want to show you how to reduce the size in this case too. There's another possibility where we write down height equals, and then let's say 250 pixels. It's technically the same thing as here. However, if we keep it in style, it's a little bit more usable because we can use the style attribute much better than this pure height attribute. So yeah, we can change the values as much as we want. We also can change the height. However, the problem with the height is it can't use any percentual values, but we can say height double point, let's say 25 pixel. And as you can see, we are getting a very flat bear. It's the same here, where I say width equals 25 pixel. And then, as you can see, our detective gets very flat in this case. Width and height are quite interesting to work with. However, if you work with pictures, it's the best thing to use the style attribute instead of these attributes here, because the style attribute makes it a little bit easier to handle. And also you can choose in the style attribute a little bit more precisely what you want to do. You also can, in the case of Karl-Heinz, for instance, create the background color of, let's say, red. And as you can see, Karl-Heinz gets this background color back. We are also able to insert some GIFs in these pictures here. So also animated pictures are possible. This is the case for the rubberducky.gif. We can do it by copying this thing here. Here we have rubberducky.jpg. I save it now. And then this picture doesn't exist. Again, here's the text. This picture doesn't exist. The text just came because I added the alt tag. The alt tag means if a picture isn't here, then it will get replaced by this text here. The reason for the error is we have rubberducky.gif, not JPEG. If I refresh it now, it should be here. Except if I forgot the space. Now here it is, our animated rubber ducky. As you can see, the rubber ducky looks amazing. You can also change the position of this rubber duck in our case, or of any other picture. What we can do therefore is, again, style equals, and then float right. Float is the command that makes sure that it goes either on the left or on the right side of the picture. And we can use anything, in this case, what we want to make the picture look the way we want it. So again, we can change the size. For instance, height equals 120 pixels. No, double point, height double point, 120 pixels. And as you can see, the rubber duck is already here. The last thing we are going to need is a background now. To add a background, we can again just write down style. The background should be an image we are going to use. Again, open the quotation marks, background image, double point, and then we write down URL. URL is a name for the uniform resource locator, or short for a link. And then we write down the path we want to have. In our case, let's say images/Karl-Heinz.gif. And now if I refresh it, you can see that Karl-Heinz is now the image of our background in our website. However, if you zoom a little bit out, you can see that Karl-Heinz repeats and repeats and repeats itself. It can be charming though, but I want to show you one final tool to change this repeating. What we need to do is at first a semicolon, and then we add background size, double point, and then cover. If we do it like this, then it doesn't look at first for Karl-Heinz, but if we increase it in size, you can see that Karl-Heinz is now fully the background. You can change it to any value you want, and in all technicality you even can change it in a value by saying background repeat and then just changing it. Therefore we have to go background size contain and background repeat, double point space for instance. Let's try it. Then you can see that it's only in one row, or that you say no repeat. Then it's just the single Karl-Heinz in the background. As you can see, you can try out any tool you want. I go back here and say cover. And then you can see Karl-Heinz grows and reduces its size as much as he wants. So this is also the final thing I'm going to show you today. I can't wait to see your beautiful pictures and what you create with them. Your computer won some.